You're waiting to go into an audition, or you're about to press record on the camera for the self-tape, and your body's in survival mode. Your heart rate's sped up, you're breathing too, your mind's racing, and the lines that were rock solid before are now all over the place. And the more you try to calm down, the worse it gets. But those nerves didn't begin just as you're about to go into the audition, or when you're pressing the button on the camera. They started in the anticipation of the audition. And that could have been 2 days, 2 weeks, 24 hours. Whenever you found out you're going to have the audition, you start thinking about it. Now, there's a lot of advice out there for actors to get over nerves. Breathe deeply, be present, just trust yourself. And some of that may help temporarily, but it doesn't really explain what's going on or get to the root of the problem. In the science of acting, anticipation is defined as the increasing intensity of thinking in imaginary pictures and impressions. So in other words, anticipation is your mind building the future or imagining the future before the future's arrived. But if the future's full of pictures and impressions of failure, then that produces fear and in turn, nerves. In reality, the audition has not gone wrong yet. It hasn't even happened. But the actor's already experiencing obstacles to their success in their imagination. They could imagine forgetting the lines, looking at the panel and then being disappointed, stumbling over the first line, going out of the audition thinking, oh, I've blown it, or imagining their agent being disappointed, or thinking that they're not right for it anyway, so someone else is bound to get it. None of that's actually happened, but it could already be happening in the actor's thinking. This is where a foreburn is very important. Foreburn is the science of acting term for aware anticipation. It doesn't mean pretending that the audition doesn't matter. It doesn't mean forcing yourself to stay calm or tricking yourself into some kind of false confidence. During the time leading up to an audition, a foreburn is a means of shifting your attention from things going wrong, the fear of that and the fear of failure, onto creative thinking instead. What you're in effect doing is taking the fear out of the following equation. Unaware anticipation is anticipation equals inspiration plus fear. And what we want is aware anticipation, where the equation becomes anticipation minus fear equals inspiration. So that all you're left with in the anticipation phase is inspiration. No fear, just inspiration. And that's got to be the ideal way to prepare for anything, let alone an audition. You see, unaware anticipation leaves too much to chance. It gives the actor far too much opportunity to anticipate failure, judgment, rejection, suffering, and that creates fear and nerves. Aware anticipation, foreburn, is deliberate and specific preparation. Fear is replaced not by vague positivity, but by creative thinking and inspiration. So when it comes to the scene, there's plenty of creative contemplation to be done. You know, as you sit there, roughly the time of day of the week, what time of year it is, the temperature, the weather outside, where you've come from, where you're going to. All those things you have to think about for the character as well. Also the character's purpose, action, event, their backstory, a character line, and also their relationships with other characters in the scene or characters that are talked about in the scene. But it's not just the lines and the character and the scene work that has to be done. The actor also has to prepare the state of mind that they want to maintain for the audition, one that helps them to stay relaxed and to do their best. So that if the audition panel is bigger than they expected, smaller than they expected, they're running late or you're running late, you trip and fall when you go into the room, you do lose a line, of course you can't imagine every eventuality. But a foreburn means that whatever happens, you give your attention the best chance possible of returning to the work at hand, which is creating the character and doing your best. And the more you prepare for auditions in this way, the stronger that habit will become. You become better at giving your mind a creative purpose rather than leaving it to imagine failure and therefore create fear. And that gives you far more agency than simply saying, think positively, which is far too vague. Now, unwanted fear may still come up in the anticipation phase or at the audition itself, and that's where an afterburn comes in helpful, and that's another video separate to this. But because during anticipation you're now in a raised state of awareness, if fear does come up, you're more likely to see the thoughts behind it. You can ask questions about it, you can start to understand what the thoughts are. And that's why, crucially, the science of acting just doesn't deal with analysis of scripts and characters. That's very important. but also one of its central principles is to develop an actor's own awareness, so they can see their thinking clearly enough to be able to stop being limited by it and be freer to play the character or think the thoughts of the character. If you want to understand more about acting at this level, then please subscribe to this channel, and also click on the link in the comments below to get my free guide.